Hello, I hope everyone's doing well. I'd like to welcome you to this screencast to go over the Eagle Lake flowchart for minors and majors. The best way to access, or the easiest way, is to go to the Moodle site and to go to the PBIS section. And there's a link then for the PBIS flowchart. And I want to talk through several things in this flowchart. Because I think that it'll probably lead to some discussion in terms of changes, particularly in the role the SSC plays here at Eagle Lake Elementary, and then also in terms of its relationship to the grade level problem solving process. But I'll start at the beginning and get to those things as we go through. Certainly things begin when there's a problem behavior in the school setting, and we focus on the school setting, and so that would exclude things like homework, because that doesn't happen in the school setting, and the main reason for that exclusion is that we can't control the variables outside of school. So in effect, if we were to start giving minors for homework completion, if a student has a chaotic or even abusive home environment, we may be penalizing them for that. So we focus on schools and behaviors that are in the school setting, and we look here to this area. Is the behavior severely disrupting the learning process to the point where it can't be managed in the classroom, or is the behavior putting the student and others in an unsafe situation? I know for this box, which is the determination between a minor and a major, that there will be some variability in staff in terms of their definition of what severely is. And we may have to work on moving people more towards the mean in that regard. But really we're talking about behaviors that shut down your ability to teach. So not minor disruptive behaviors in terms of ones that become a major. And so I'm going to deal first on the major side. Behaviors that are majors are the things that have significantly, severely shut down your ability to teach in your classroom, meaning that you really can't meet the needs of the other kids at all, or that are physically unsafe for the student or others. Those should be referred directly to the SSC or the office, and you should fill out a major form. Those major and minor forms, I think we've shared with you that they're accessible via the Moodle site as well for each grade level. We want you to send those behaviors to the office because of health and safety reasons, and we need majors filled out so that people know what's going on. The SSC supervisor and or building administrator will determine the next course of action for those students. Over on the side of the minors, if we're talking about things that are moderately to minimally disruptive, things that aren't unsafe, then we really encourage folks to engage in classroom management, to do teaching and modeling and practice using PBIS language, PBIS expectations. I want to touch base quickly on that because I see some fairly common things, not just at Eagle Lake, but how people use PBIS expectations that really isn't quite as productive as it could be. One of the things that I see when people do PBIS expectations is they'll often do them in a reactive fashion or almost in a scolding fashion, which setting a limit in itself isn't a bad thing. But the real magic of PBIS and the work of expectations is certainly the sharing and building of that common understanding with the whole group, but it's also in targeting individual students that struggle with behavior and sharing those expectations proactively as a proactive intervention. And so when we talk about that with individual students, that's really what we're moving towards talking about, is that situation where you have a student that you know struggles in your classroom with behavior, and you're doing things like pull-aside conversations preemptively to talk to them about expectations and to build them up and encourage them to follow those expectations prior to the behavior itself occurring. So we look to have people try that. If there's a change in behavior, then yes, we're going to just monitor behavior and be happy about that. If not, we really look to teachers and staff to do that at least 3 times. And that can vary in terms of the time that it may take to get those 3 times done. At that point, we look to have parent contact be at teacher discretion. In terms of a change of behavior, if there's a change at that point, awesome, we would monitor that change. If not, that's when we would fill out a minor. And the minor would be completed, and we would continue to do limit setting and work in the classroom. Now you'll notice throughout all these teaching and practice that a student isn't referred to the SSC for any of those. What we're going to try to do, we'll move towards with the SSC, and I haven't been here historically, so I'm not sure on how the SSC has been used. But what we'd like to really move toward is that the SSC will be part of our intervention options, potentially, in terms of being able to have maybe some student behavior groups or individual student groups where we could work on teaching specific behaviors, specific skills. What we're going to try to avoid is have the SSC be the place to go when a minor occurs. And in turn, and kind of building on that a little bit, going to try to limit also the use of the SSC for academic issues beyond kids that really need some processing time to finish, say, a test or an assignment. But if it's an unwise use of time, that's more of a minor behavior. And we would encourage classroom teaching in an expectation setting rather than using the SSC for that. Once the minor form has been completed, at 2 minors, the teacher is expected to contact the parent and let them know that there's a concern and what we're doing to work toward it. You'll know that those minors are coming because you all have access now, I think, to your grade level responses for your minors on the Google spreadsheet. At 3 minors, that then would trigger a referral to the grade level problem solving team, and I've done a screencast talking about that process. So that is when the grade level would get together and they would talk about, this is the consistent problem. You should be able to review all the minors on that database and talk about an appropriate behavioral intervention to use systematically across the grade level, what resources you need to do that, and then how long you're going to what your goal is and how long you're going to implement that intervention. That about covers it. Certainly if you have any questions about this, you can contact anybody on the problem solving team, the building problem solving team, or certainly myself. Thank you for your time.